Swami to the session.
This call is now being recorded.
Thank you all. Over to research scholars. Soumya, please. Swami, hearty welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. Good evening, everyone. Warm welcome to our 57th talk of Insight In-Depth Invited Talk Series hosted by the research wing of the prestigious Mathifulus Training College. Thank you for being here. Myself, Sanla Manoj, research scholar, Mathifulus Training College. Prayer is the link that connects us with God. Let us begin our meeting by seeking the blessing of Almighty with a prayer. Please be paused for a while. Dear participants, kindly mute your audio, please. Thank you.
നിറയും പ്രകാശമേ ഞങ്ങളെ എന്നും തുണയ്ക്കേണമേ ഉള്ളിലുറങ്ങി കിടക്കും കഴിവുകൾ ഉണ്മയോടെന്നും ഉണർത്തേണമേ എങ്ങും നിറയും പ്രകാശമേ ഞങ്ങളെ എന്നും തുണയ്ക്കേണമേ ഉള്ളിലുറങ്ങി കിടക്കും കഴിവുകൾ ഉണ്മയോടെന്നും ഉണർത്തേണമേ അക്ഷരമുത്തുകൾ കോർത്തെടുത്തിടുവാൻ ശാസ്ത്ര സത്യങ്ങൾ തിരിച്ചറിഞ്ഞിടുവാൻ ജാതി മത ചിന്ത വേരറുത്തിടുവാൻ ജീവിത നന്മകൾ കൈവരിക്കാൻ എങ്ങും നിറയും പ്രകാശമേ ഞങ്ങളെ എന്നും തുണയ്ക്കേണമേ ഉള്ളിലുറങ്ങി കിടക്കും കഴിവുകൾ ഉണ്മയോടെന്നും ഉണർത്തേണമേ ഉണ്മയോടെന്നും ഉണർത്തേണമേ ഉണ്മയോടെന്നും ഉണർത്തേണമേ.
Thank you, everyone. Before moving forward, a humble reminder to our dear participants, please mute your audio unless you are asked to unmute to avoid any distraction. If you have any queries related to the meeting, please type them in the chat box. After the talk by our resource person, there will be a deliberation time. At that time, you can clarify your queries. This webinar is being recorded and will be uploaded in the MTTC Nalanjara, our official YouTube channel, and the link will be shared through our Insight In-Depth WhatsApp groups. Feedback form will be shared only at the end of the meeting. Only those who submit the feedback form will receive the e-certificate through the email ID, which you enter in the feedback form. I humbly request everyone to kindly follow the instructions for the smooth conduct of the meeting. Kindly cooperate. Thank you. May I now invite Mrs. Ligia V.S., Research Scholar, Mathifulus Training College, for the welcome address. Over to you, Ligia, ma'am.
Thank you, Mrs. Sanla Manoj. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Please continue. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everybody, and a very hearty welcome to the 57th talk series, Insight In-Depth of Mathifulus Training College. And most of you might be hearing me for the very first time. Though I'm not very familiar to you all, I too am a part of this wonderful institution, and today I'm greatly privileged for entrusting me with this duty of welcoming address. So, as we all know, we are convened today to get a gist of these sparkling words of Swami Gurunand Jnana Thapaswi on the topic Neurobiology of Peaceful Mind. Before getting into the deeper pool of it, let me welcome you all to this webinar. First of all, let me welcome Dr. K.Y. Benedict sir, our principal and the guiding spirit of Matthew Training College to this webinar. Dear sir, a very hearty welcome to you and our distinguished guest and the most important person of today's session, Swami Gurunand Thapaswi, a very part and parcel of this research institution to this webinar. And on behalf of each and everyone present, Swami, I welcome you to this webinar. And a hearty welcome to Dr. Bindu, ma'am, our research coordinator and the facilitator of all of us. Ma'am, a very hearty welcome to you too. And Jojo sir, you are a motivator and the supporter who encourages us with your magic words. And a very hearty welcome to you too, sir. Last but not the least, I welcome all the faculty members, research scholars of Matthew Training College, the 57 talk series of Insight in Depth. Once again, I welcome each and everyone to this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Ligia ma'am, for such a wonderful welcome speech. Our topic for today is neurobiology for peaceful mind. We all are familiar with Swami Gurunand Jnana Thapaswi. Swamiji took two topics in our Insight in Depth. 20th talk was on spiritual intelligence and 35th talk was on cognitive biases. We all are familiar with Swamiji. It will be a great pleasure for inviting Swamiji to this Insight in Depth. For knowing more about Swamiji, let me invite Anuja VS, research scholar, Matthew Training College, for introducing the guest of honor. Over to you, Anuja ma'am.
Thank you. Good evening, honorable dignitaries and dear participants. With immense pleasure and honor, I would like to introduce the guest speaker of today's Insight in-Depth Talk series organized by Matthew Training College Research Wing. Today we have with us Swami Gurunand Jnana Thapaswi as resource person, and the topic for today is Neurobiology of Peaceful Mind. Let us know more about our resource person. Swami Gurunand Jnana Thapaswi is a member of Gurudharma Prakasha Sabha, the ascended congregation of Shantigiri Ashram. He is a postgraduate in chemistry and has completed his master's degree in education. He has been a teacher for more than 20 years and served as the principal of Shantigiri Vidyabhavan Senior Secondary School and Shantigiri Vidyabhavan Higher Secondary School, Thiruvananthapuram. Presently, he assumes duty as the in charge of Shantigiri Research Foundation and Shantigiri Institute of Training and Development, Shantigiri Ashram. He is currently pursuing his PhD in the Faculty of Education in University of Kerala under the guideship of Dr. K.Y. Benedict sir at Matthew Training College Research Center, Nalanchira. Once again, welcome you, sir, to the session. Thank you.
Hello, Swami.
Hello, Swami.
Hello.
Hello, Anuja ma'am.
Swami, audible, sir? Hello.
Thank you,
Yes,
thank
yes.
you, Anuja. Thank you, Anuja ma'am. Sorry for the inconvenience. Okay, let me invite Swamiji for the talk. The platform is yours, Swamiji. We are so much blessed and fortunate to have such a great personality in our talk. Over to you, Swamiji. Thank you.
It is a great pleasure to be a part of this prestigious program once again. I offer my great thanks to my beloved guide and our beloved principal, Dr. K.Y. Benedict sir, along with our research coordinator, our dear Bindu teacher, and our Joji John sir. And I convey my regards to all my teachers and my colleagues. Since I think I may take more time, that's why I'm directly shifting on to the presentation. Let me start the presentation. Is it visible now?
Yes, Swamiji, it's visible. Thank you.
Yeah, today we will be discussing about the neurobiology of peaceful mind. Let me tell one thing truly that it is actually the neurobiology of peacelessness. It is not about peaceful mind, but we will be discussing about the neurobiology of peacelessness. Only by knowing what makes us peaceless can move on to the peacefulness of our mind. So the peacefulness of mind, it is a normal thing, but whatever leads us to the peacelessness, that makes the disturbance, and if we are able to set down the disturbances, definitely we can move on to the peaceful mind state. So let's move. So there are two concepts, that is inner and outer peace. John in Bible has told us that peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid. Gautama Buddha has told us that peace comes from within, don't seek it without. There is another well-known wordings. Inner peace begins the moment you choose not to allow other person or event to control your emotions. I think that forms the basis of inner peace. Many a times we are familiar with outer peace and how to find this inner peace. See, spiritual persons are having this inner peace, but as common people, how could we move in that particular line? Not in a spiritual way, but in a realistic way. Without inner peace, outer peace is impossible. Let's take an example. So you can walk comfortably over the stones in a stony path if you have a pair of shoes. But if a small stone is inside the shoes, you cannot do even a single step, even if the way is fine. So if the road we are traversing is having much problems, we can easily go through it with the protection. Not, we don't need any carpet, but we just need a pair of shoes. But if the disturbance is inside the shoes itself, we cannot make even a single step. So that makes the inner peace important. I think so. So what is mind? We are telling about mind, discussing about mind. So what is mind? In the opinion of Dan Siegel, he is a well-known psychologist. The human mind is a relational and embodied process that regulates the flow of energy and information. So it regulates the flow of energy and information with ourselves and the external world. So mind is a medium for that. What are the aspects of our mind? The experience of self as an agent. It makes decisions in our life. It gives a sense of I, that is the self-awareness. It is a seat of consciousness. It includes what and how we think, that is the quality of our thinking. Then the attentional processes. It is guided by our mind. So mind, it does, it develops many things. It develops images, it develops feelings in us, it helps us to sense things, and it guides our thoughts. So four things are attributed with the mind. The images we have, that is the memories. Then our feelings, our sensations, and images that are the memory of all these things we keep in our internal self. So thoughts, regarding thoughts, uh, there are conscious and unconscious thoughts. It is assumed that more than 60,000 thoughts are there per day happening in our mind. Of this, 95% are copied pasted from the day before, because we are repeating the same thoughts. And 80% of those thoughts are negative. We will see about these things later on. Our subconscious mind, it is actually like a an iceberg. What we see as the conscious mind is only the top part, and the majority is synced inside. Our subconscious mind, it is a way more powerful when it comes to information processing. Subconscious is able to process 20,000 bits of information simultaneously. The processing power of our subconscious mind is very high, but our consciousness can deal only with 7 plus or minus 2 bits of information. That is the capacity of our working memory. So that is called a golden rule of our memory. That is, we can handle only up to a maximum of 7 plus, and a minimum we can handle 5. That is the information processing capacity of our mind. Let me ask one question. Someone may please help me. What can you see in this picture? I think some of you have seen this picture earlier in an earlier presentation. They may not tell anything, but the newcomers may please tell what you see in this picture. Someone may please help me. Pavitra is telling that it is a triangle. Can some others give any other suggestion?
Three circles joined by a triangle.
Yeah, 3 circles joined by a triangle. Okay.
Swamiji, Duprabha is also commented in the chat box that beaks of 3 birds.
Oh, beaks of 3 birds. That's a very creative thought. Okay, but it's a different thing. Actually, there is no triangle, and actually there is no circle. It's only a part of the circle. It is called Kanizsa triangle illusion. See, our visual system constructs an imaginary triangle as a way to explain the arrangement of the sliced circles. Actually, the circles are not complete. They are actually 3 sliced circles, and the triangle that we see inside is actually an illusion. It's only an image constructed by our unconscious mind. We'll discuss about these things. And I need once more your help. I think some words are coming here on the screen. Can someone read that for me?
A very normal person can read these draws, although the letters are scrambled. You should have one fidelity in understand though is
Once more try it from the beginning. Now you can do it so easily. Please help.
Sir, a very normal person can read these words, although the letters are scrambled. You should have a fluid this word in understanding what is is being said. You can do this because of the surprising auto something of the brain.
This automaticity.
Automaticity of the brain.
Okay. Actually, it is being told that it is because of the automaticity of our brain. Our brain is a predictive one. It can predict things. Our cognitive mind, our conscious mind actually cannot do this. But it is because of the faculty of our unconscious mind, or a different network is there inside our brain. We are actually discussing about these things. So we have a very wonderful faculty in our brain that at a particular time helps us to survive and makes commits many mistakes for us. Okay, so there are 2 pathways in our brain. We will be discussing about these two systems in our brain. See, our brain, it is actually in an autopilot. The autopilot in our brain anticipates the words and quickly sorts the scrambled letters. It is otherwise called the predictive brain. It always helps us to survive. The brain makes judgments and decisions quickly and automatically. It continuously makes predictions about future events. Automatic processes play a central role in the mind, allowing us to predict events quickly. This automaticity shapes not only our perceptions, but all mental processes, including our judgments, decisions, and our actions. This automaticity actually enables us to function smoothly in this world. If only we are thinking in the right way, in the right sense, and whatever appears to us in the right form, it will be very difficult to see the secrets of the world. We have to probe into the secrets of the world to make our living a fruitful one. So our brain is given with a predictive capacity, or the automatic brain helps us to survive. We take note of events only when the prediction fails. Otherwise, this particular faculty will be always active. Becoming conscious when predictions fail enable us to avoid the pitfalls of automatic processing and adjust to the changes in our environment. Many times, this predictive brain or the automatic brain will be active, and only when the prediction fails, we will be shifted on to the attention mode. Now, let's see. Bowler is bowling. The batsman hits the ball, and the fielder, he's taking the catch. Here, all the processes of the fielder, it is unconscious. The unconscious processes predict the trajectory of the ball and adjust the limb motions accordingly. It is not a conscious process, but he is trying to do that. So his processing is unconscious, and he does that in the fraction of a second. No need of any information processing, conscious information processing. It happens unconsciously. But the conscious processing would become engaged only when we fails. This is unconscious processing, but the conscious processing becomes active only when it fails. Sometimes and many times it fails. So according to Daniel Kahneman, he's actually a Nobel laureate in 1980s. According to him, our brain has two systems, and the first one is the automatic, the uncontrollable, rapid workings of the unconscious mind, and the second one is the cold, explicit, which is slow, flexible, conscious processes. There are two systems. Nowadays, this naming has changed, and we'll move on to the thing. Nowadays, it is called default mode network and central executive network, or attention mode network. And there is another network called a salience network that switches between the default mode and the central executive network. So there are two systems happening. It is called dual processing systems. Emotions, our thoughts, everything happening inside our brain is controlled in this dual processing mode. The system 1 is now named as default mode network, and the system 2, it is named as central executive network, or sometimes it is called attention mode network. Many times we will be in a wakeful, sleepy state, and our mindfulness activities, only the attention, specific attention to a particular process, invokes the central executive network. Otherwise, we will be operating in the default mode network. Many a times, 90% in our life, we will be moving along with the default mode network. So that makes many things difficult for us. We are not making any conscious processing, and many things happening in our life is automatic. See, we could see that we are entering a room and we may forget why we entered there. We may be keeping a key or some cash at a particular place, and we may be forgetting about that. We have specifically placed that with utmost care, but even then we will be forgetful about that, because whatever functioning there is the default mode network. and the attention mode network is not active. See, in the last presentation also, I asked a particular question. See, our college has 3 floors now, and how many steps are there to the second floor? I think only Benedict sir can answer that. Even though we are using, even I am also using those stairs. I haven't counted that. It is an unconscious process. We are just climbing the stairs. But when I asked this particular question last time, Benedict sir gave the correct answer. So I am not presenting the question now. So we are actually always functioning in the default mode network, and our attention mode network switches on whenever there is an emergency or when the default mode network fails. So the brain functions along multiple tracks. We are aware only of the material in our working memory, the user interface. That is 7 plus or minus 2 information can be processed. But working memory holds only a vanishingly small fraction of the data we are taking in. We remain unconscious of most of the input that floods the brain and feeds the system 1, which processes it automatically and quickly. See, it is assumed it is actually the product of a research. I took this picture from a research journal also. There are 11 million bits per second. 11 million bits per second is reaching through our sensor for processing. But the output is only 50 bps, that is 50 bytes per second. Sorry, actually bits per second. So the output is very small. That is, our attention mode network can handle only a small amount of the information that we are getting. All the processing is done unconsciously by the autopilot of our brain, or the system 1, or the default mode network. So what does the brain do with this data? It constantly goes into the future, considering what will happen next. What stimuli are likely to come up? Anything dangerous on the horizon? What are others up to? So it is actually the survival mode. It helps us to see, anticipate the problems that are yet to come, and helps us to be proactive. Such prognostications relate not only to the outer world, but also to the internal milieu of our bodies. That is, we'll be thinking about ourselves also. The pattern detection mechanism, it is actually using a pattern detection, it will be probing the past experiences, connects it with that. Is there any common pattern between what is happening or what is yet to come? And in our memories, we will be striking it back to our memories and detect a pattern and respond accordingly. The pattern detection mechanism of the brain works most effectively without conscious attention. It is the deeper emotional part of the brain, the limbic structures, from which quick reaction arises. So the unconscious process greatly controls our consciousness. The real mastermind that solves problems and ensures our survival is the unconscious. It is the autopilot in our brain. It is not the consciousness that makes us what we are. Many of our decisions are unconscious, the result of unconscious processing. So we have to actually switch on from the default mode network to the attention mode network to make our life purposeful. Otherwise, we will be in a dreamy state. So that if we are able to switch it on in the right way, in the right time, we will be blessed with the peace of mind. Otherwise, many things happen not according to our wish and will. So the default mode network, which will be active when a person is not focused on the outside world and the brain is at the wakeful rest. It is composed of the medial prefrontal cortex, posterior cingulate cortex, and the angular gyrus. So these are the parts related with the default mode network. For the functioning of this default mode network, the energy consumption is very less. So according to the principle of least energy, our brains always uses this particular mode of network. The attention mode network it takes much energy for consumption, for the functioning. So that part is not normally used. Thinking, it does three things: thinking about ourselves or themselves, thinking about others, remembering the past, and planning for the future. So three main things are there: self-directed thinking, other-directed thinking, and the past and future-oriented thinking. So these are the three aspects of this default mode network. So thinking about themselves, it involves the autobiographical information, our memories, that is the collection of events and facts about oneself. Then self-reference, referring to the traits and descriptions of one's own self. I am like that. I do things in this particular way. So we will be referring to ourselves and makes an image of ourselves. Then emotions of oneself, that is reflecting about one's own emotional state. So we feel that we are in grief, we are in joy, and all these things are happening because of our default mode network. That is the self-directed thinking. Then comes the other directed thinking, that is the theory of mind. I think once one talk was in this insight in depth regarding the theory of mind a couple of sessions before. That is thinking about the thoughts of others and what they are might or might not know. Then emotions of others, that is empathizing, understanding the emotions of other people and empathizing with their feelings. Then social evaluations, we will be making judgments regarding the good and bad attitude of other people. Then social categorizations, that is reflecting on important social characteristics and the status. So we'll be categorizing people according to the social stature. We will be socially evaluating the people. Then we will be judging the emotions of other people, and we may think that we know the mind of others. So that is all happens because of the default mode network. Then it does other things, that is the past and the future. Remembering the past, recalling events that happened in the past. Many a times people dwell in this past. If they are dwelling in the past, they are ruminating the thoughts regarding the past, then many a great times they will be moving on to depression state. Then imagining the future, envisioning events that might happen in the future. And it is a good thing. It helps us to plan things in the right way. But if some person is stuck up in that, then that will lead to anxiety. Then episodic memory, that is a detailed memory related to specific events in time. That is called episodic memory. Then story comprehension, understanding and remembering and narrating. We will be constructing stories of our own for each and every event that is happening in our life. We are building stories. We are actually creating our own reality, our version of the reality. Let me tell you one thing. If someone is telling you, if approaching you, then you will be judging about that person that he is coming to me for that particular thing. So we will be assuming that. Sometimes in some love relations, if the counterpart is not coming in the right time, then the other part will be thinking that he may not be that much interested in me now. But actually, he may be engaged in some other things that cannot be avoided. But the second part will be thinking that it is because of his loss of love to him or her. So we will be assuming things and we will be developing stories regarding each and everything. And that is also done by this default mode network. And let's see another illustration of this default mode network. And this forms the basis of pranking. We are not aware of the real thing happening. It is only a rubber snake, but the person who sees that thinks that it is the real snake. So he is actually constructing a story of the thing. He's having an image of the snake that is dangerous inside his brain. And he quickly relates both the things, the thing that he sees and the image that he has in his mind, and he connects the two. And that is why this particular response is coming. It is because the quick processing is done by the unconscious mind, and that forms the base of every pranking. Now, it is not confined only to human beings. I think you can see the video. It's a pranking video from Indonesia. Like human beings, in other animals also, this survival mode is always on. The unconscious processing helps us to survive. And what is happening here? It is called subliminal priming. So priming is a phenomenon whereby exposure to one stimulus influence a response to subsequent stimuluses without conscious guidance or intention. So an earlier stimulus that created a response in us, we will be associating that thing with a new coming thing. So positive stimulus prompt acceptance and negative stimulus prompt avoidance. See what really the meaning positive means posit. That means that is to be posited, that is to be accepted, that is to be confirmed. Negative means that is to be negated, that is to be avoided. That is the real meaning of these words. That is to be continued with that is positive, and that is to be negated or avoided. That is the real meaning of these two words. And that meaning itself gives what is to be done with the stimulus, or what unconscious process is happening inside our brain. So we are having some memory images. It is made by the hippocampus. It encodes and retrieves episodic details. That episodic details means the personal details. Then reactive memories via pattern completion. It is done by, we have told that there is a pattern completion done by the brain, and the main role is done by hippocampus. Actually, hippocampus, it directs all the information to specific places in the brain. All the information are not stored at a particular place. Each type of memory is going to different regions of the brain. So to which part the information must go, it is directed by the hippocampus. So it is actually does a directive mechanism. So there will be a rudimentary memory image of each and everything happening in our hippocampus. So it is quickly relating all the events with the rudimentary image or the unclear image that is inside our brain, and it takes the quick decision. It detects novelty, triggering integration of hippocampal memories, and what we have discussed is called the hippocampal memories, the vague images of all the things happening in our life. Then it projects to medial prefrontal cortex, updating memory models with new content. So these are the different regions inside our brain, the prefrontal cortex, then pituitary gland, amygdala, brainstem, hippocampus, cerebellum, hypothalamus. All these main parts are associated with the information processing in our brain. Now I would like to introduce you with a new concept, not a new concept, but a concept called the triune brain. So our brain, it can be vertically organized into 3 layers. That is the brain stem, that is it modulates the survival state. It always posits the question, am I safe? Then the middle part, that is the emotion, it is called the limbic system. The main question regarding this limbic system is, am I loved? That is, it controls the emotional state of a person. And the prefrontal lobes, that is the most evolved form, it performs the executive functions. what can I learn from this? What can I know from this? So this type of information processing is done by the executive brain, or the, we'll see a different name for these things. Before going to that thing, let me tell that what percentage of our genes share with the animals. Chimpanzee and we share 98% of our genes, because 98% of the genes of human beings and chimpanzee are similar. With mouse, it is 92% similarity. With fruit fly, it is 44. So we all, even though we are human beings, our genetic makeup is more like the animals. So the brainstem, it is called the lizard brain. The brainstem and the cerebellum, it together constitute the lizard brain. It takes up the fight or flight or freeze responses, or it is the seat of the autopilot. The mammalian brain, that is the second part, it is the limbic system. It is a seat of emotions, our memories, our habits, etc. And it also functions in a major role in the decision-making process. And the last part, that is the neocort. Neo means new. It is comparatively new. It is involved with language, the abstract thought, imagination, consciousness, etc. So it is the seat of reason and rationalization. So this concept is called the triune brain, and was put forward by Ledox. So the lizard brain, it is always connected with the survival mode. Then mammalian brain, it is concerned with the emotions, and the human, the last part, that is the neocortex, it is associated with the reasons and rationalizations. So many times the lizard brain and mammalian brain, they function together and constitute the limbic system. So the prefrontal cortex, that is the, it does many executive functions. It is concerned with empathy, insight, response flexibility. That means we are not actually responding to each and every person in the same way. We see the person, how he or she is associated with our life, then we will be responding according to that. So the way a person behaves to a teacher is not similar to that with his parents. So that response flexibility, it is given by the functioning of the prefrontal cortex. Then emotion regulation. Emotions are carried out by the limbic brain, but the emotion regulation is done by the prefrontal cortex. Then we will see that. Then body regulation, how the body movements are articulated. Then morality, to distinguish who is who, that is, and behave according to that. So if the prefrontal cortex is not functioning in the proper way, a person will be sensing a female only as a female, not as a mother or as a sister. Then intuition, that something will be coming to our brain, our mind, without any specific reason. We could see inside the things, that is intuition. Then attuned communication, the way we communicate with each and every person in the different mode, that is called attuned communication. Then fear modulation, we will be seeing the thing in detail. The limbic brain, it is associated with the fight and flight responses. Then things, am I safe or do people want me? Then emotions live here. So these are the two important parts, that is the main regions, the prefrontal cortex that does the executive function, and the limbic brain that does the emotional part of the thing. See, they perform in different ways. See, this limbic system, it is very impulsive in nature. Normally, the impulsive side of the brain is charging ahead. The prefrontal cortex allows us to think about the future, to understand the consequences and make better decisions. Many times, the limbic system is charged ahead of the prefrontal cortex. That we have seen in the tracking video. There, the limbic system is charging first and the prefrontal cortex is not functioning. So we have to, what emotional intelligence or what peacefulness of mind means, we have to switch on the prefrontal cortex for making better decisions. So these are the regions. Since the lack of time, I'm not discussing about this. Amygdala, it is very important in the decision making, the emotional decision making process or the limbic system. Then the hippocampus, then hypothalamus, thalamus, and the cingulate cortex. So these are the different regions that are involved with the emotional processing in our brain. And the key role is played by amygdala. As you can see in the picture, there are two small pea-like things that is situated at both sides on the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. It is actually guiding us. Amygdala is deciding what we are, how we behave. It is actually regulated by this amygdala. We will see that in detail. When we perceive a threat, the amygdala sounds an alarm, releasing a cascade of chemicals in the body. Stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol flood our system, immediately preparing us for fight or flight. It is called the HPA axis, the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. The prefrontal cortex regulates the stress response by making things seem less scary, but it is not functioning in the proper way. It is a slow process. But the amygdala charges detect things that are scary or dangerous in the environment in a quick manner. In a fraction of a second, in milliseconds, it will be activated and it will alert the hypothalamus. So the hypothalamus wakes up the pituitary. So then the pituitary, it will be alerting the adrenal gland. Then hormones from the pituitary tell the adrenal gland to release cortisol. It is the stress hormone. The cortisol travels through the blood and tells other body parts to react to stress. This adrenal gland is seen just above the kidney. So through the blood vessels, it will be reach each and every part of the body, and it activates the sympathetic nervous system. There are two nervous systems in our body, the sympathetic and parasympathetic. So this sympathetic nervous system will be activated by this cortisol. It dilates the pupils because to see clearly what is happening. Opens the eyelids, same thing, then stimulates the sweat glands. See, you will be functioning, the muscles will be functioning more, and to keep the heat away, the sweat glands will be functioning in a increased manner, dilate the blood vessels in large muscles. Much oxygen must be supplied to the muscles so that our body can do some emergency things. Then constrict the blood vessels in the rest of the body. Only the muscles will be getting proper oxygen supply and blood supply. And it constricts the blood vessels in the rest of the body, including the digestive system and the brain. Please take care. It restrict the blood flow even to the brain, that is particularly to the prefrontal cortex. Then it increases the heart rate, then opens up the bronchial tubes of the lungs so that much air can be taken in for action. Then it inhibits the secretion of the digestive system. It shuts down the digestive system. Then increases blood sugar because the cortisol, it interacts with the more glucose will be needed by the body, and so increase the blood sugar level. Then circadian clock breaks. That is an internal clock is there that gives us the time frame of events happening in our life. That will be lost. That will be, hence our sleeping will be affected. Then this leads to sleep disruptions. So these are the things happening because of the stress that we are receiving. So what are the effects of this cortisol in the body? It does much things. It interferes with our hunger. It leads to arthritis. It leads to decreased immune system, then decreased metabolism inside the body. It leads to depression, hypertension. Then it leads to chronic fatigue, then sleep deprivation, then migraines, then tunnel vision. That we will see, tunnel vision. What is it? Then acid reflux diseases, that means related with acidity, then hostility. All these things are created by the cortisol. So cortisol is sometimes called the suicidal bank of our body. So these chemicals, it will be affecting our skin, giving rise to skin problems. Then it will be interfering with the functioning of the stomach, can cause peptic ulcer, much other diseases related to stomach. Then if interfere with the functioning of the pancreas, elevated secretion of insulin, which leads to diabetes. It will interfere with the immune system. suppressed effectiveness of the immune system to battle and recover from illness. So if you are in a stressed state because of the diseases, your stress will aggravate the problem much more. Then it will affect our head, issues with mood, anger, depression, everything happens because anxiety and panic attacks, everything results because of the production of cortisol. It is counteracting. When stress is really detected, cortisol will be produced. Cortisol will give more stress, and it will be, the entire body will be moving in a cyclic process. Then heart, increased blood pressure, fast heartbeat, increased risk of heart attack, everything happens because of that. Then intestines will be affected, decreased nutrition absorption, reduced metabolism, everything happens in the intestine also. Then the reproductive system will be damaged, decreased testosterone and estradiol production, leading to reduced fertility in both male and female, dampening of sexual behavior and loss of sexual drive. Then joints and muscles will be affected. Then aches and pains, then inflammation, tension. So the entire body will be affected because of this cortisol. If it is not regulated in the proper way, definitely it will be leading. It is actually the thing that leads us to peacelessness in each and every man. So we are groomed by evolution to protect ourselves whenever we sense a threat. It is actually not a problem. It is our survival mechanism. We are actually in a prehistoric event when this limbic system is functioning. In our modern context, we don't fight like a badger with a coyote. That means we are not fighting with the animals or run away like a rabbit from a fox. But still, the things are in our genetic coding. But our basic impulse to protect ourselves is automatic and unconscious. It is still in our blood. We are in the grip of a highly efficient but prehistoric set of psychophysiological responses. Blood supply to PFC, that is prefrontal cortex or the neocortex, decrease and hence deactivates it. That is the thing happening in the threat detect when we detect a threat. Much things are there, not only fight or flight. 5 things are happening. We will be fighting for safety. That leads us to rages, bulliness, and narcissism. This flight response, we flee to safety. So that leads us to overeating, distractedness, stay busy. We will be perfectionist. That is, we do try to do things in an utmost perfectionist way, 100% accuracy, and everything is because of this particular response in our. We sense the need of safety, so we flee to safety. Then it causes addictions also. Then fawn, that is attachment to safety. We flee to safety. Here we get attached to safety. So we will be attached to certain persons for our emotional safety. So we will be pleasers. We will be trying to please some other person for our own safety. So we will be repressing ourselves and we move on to silences. Then flop, surrender for safety. Everything is related to our safety. We may surrender for safety. So we may lose the physical control and such things. I think the time is going to finish, so I will speed up. Then freeze, sometimes we shut down and dissociate from our external world. So that is the freeze. So fight, flight, fawn, flop, and freeze responses are happening because of the functioning of our autopilot. So what is happening? We earlier told that our amygdala function in this particular way and hijacks the brain, the functioning of the entire brain. So the higher cortex will be disabled because the oxygen supply is cut off. 30 to 40% of the oxygen supply and blood supply is cut off from the prefrontal cortex or the neocortex because of this high emotion. Not only threat, but anger, fear, excitement, love, hate, disgust, frustration, everything does the same thing to the amygdala, and the higher cortex will be disabled in all these emotions. this leads to a conclusion that if we are feeling, there will be no thought. If we are thinking, there will be no feelings. So both feelings and thought, they just don't go hand in hand. So how to switch these two things? That's the real concern. What happens during amygdala hijacking? So sensory data will be fed to the thalamus. That is the first thing happening. See, I think you can see the numbers there. Sensory data will be fed to the thalamus. Then the second thing, the data first goes to amygdala and at the same time to the cortex, neocortex or the prefrontal cortex. That happens simultaneously. But the cortex takes time to take the decision, but amygdala reacts quickly. So amygdala does quick threat assessment and it blocks the slow thinking or the functioning of the cortex. So, and the response is that we will be giving unthinking responses because of the limbic system functioning. See, the amygdala response, it takes only 12 milliseconds. That is why it is called a low road. And see, the high road, it takes two, that is the through the sensory cortex, it takes more time, 30 to 40 milliseconds it takes to take a decision regarding a particular concept. So amygdala will be firing first and the thought process will be active only after that. So that is this is the reason for the time difference between the system functioning of the system 1 and system 2. Actually, in Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly said that, see, pondering over objects, one gets attached to them. Attachment breeds desire. From desire, anger is born. Anger leads to delusion. From delusion, memory gets clouded. From clouding of memory, the intellect gets destroyed. And when the intellect goes, one is ruined. So this particular thing is clearly told even in Bhagavad Gita, that is chapter 2, verse 62 and 63. Pradhat bhavati sammoha, sammohat bhavati vibhrama, spriti bhramshat buddhinasho, buddhinasho pranashyati. That means, so we have to take care of the emotions that is happening in us. The active amygdala also immediately shuts down the neural pathway to our prefrontal cortex. So we become disoriented in a heated conversation. Complex decision making disappears as does our access to multiple perspectives. As our attention narrows, we find ourselves trapped in one perspective that makes us feel the most safe. I am right, you are wrong. Even though we are ordinary, we can ordinarily see more perspectives, but this is called tunnel vision. We will be seeing only a particular thing and other things will be cut off from our perception. That is called the tunnel vision. We see only one thing in as main. I am skipping is actually this picture is from Ramayana. Ramayana also is based on this amygdala hijacking. When Dasharatha was hijacked in his amygdala because of the thing done by Kausalya, he was much excited, much affection, much love. So he gave the word to Kausalya, and she didn't use the word at that particular moment, but later it was used to throw Rama out of his throne. So the entire story of this Ramayana is based on this amygdala hijacking. So what I have to say is that please don't make a permanent decision for your temporary emotion. Emotions are temporary. It is only because of the flooding of some chemicals in our brain. So don't make a permanent decision based on that. Now, how can we overcome this? Now you can see a pranking video. It is from National Geographic channel. So now you can see that. Now let me show another thing happening. Now this particular lady she is able to quickly recover from the amygdala hijacking, and she realized what is happening there. This is I think you could see the crocodile and the monkey, and this is the story from that is to be that is told to us even from the childhood days. Here, this is also the same thing explaining to us, but none of the teachers explained in that particular way. See, the monkey was in a threatened state. He is under stress, but in normal cases, this amygdala hijacking will be there. But what happened to the monkey? he was able to think properly how to come out of this problem. He invoked the thought process. So what happened? He invoked his creativity and told the crocodile that my heart is not present with me. I have kept that on the tree. And that imaginative thing, and this particular crocodile, it has the tunnel vision of getting the heart of the monkey. So he was not able to think properly whether it is right or wrong. So his amygdala was hijacked because of the tunnel vision, and he got the monkey back to the tree, and he escaped. We know the story, but what we have, it gives us a message. Under stress, we have to invoke, particularly invoke the thought process. Otherwise, we will be engulfed in the flow of our chemicals. I would like to tell a particular thing regarding, you can see a picture here. It is a Starbucks coffee. It is a coffee shop from Germany. This particular, I use this particular picture, but the narrative is not from my side. It is actually from Sundar Pichai, the CEO of the Google. How to overcome this amygdala hijacking. See, in this particular type of high-tech coffee shop, there will be no cockroach. But some ladies are sitting there. Let them be wearing the sleeveless dresses, and some one cockroach. Somehow it happened to be there in the hotel or in the coffee shop, and it happened to be on the body of a lady. Then normally they will scream out and throw it away from her body. And then that cockroach will be perching on the body of some other person. She or he will be doing the same thing. In a couple of seconds, the entire coffee shop will be in a mess. So the entire business was going down. No one is coming. Many of them are hopping on to the tables for rescue from the cockroach. And many times it happens even in our classrooms. Children will be screaming when they see a cockroach. And it is because of the functioning of the amygdala or the autopilot mechanism guides us in this particular way. But in the meantime, a waiter, he analyzed the situation, what is happening there. What he did is that he went into the mess and stayed among the problems mess that is happening in the coffee shop. After some time, the cockroach came to his body, but he didn't scream. The cockroach sat on his body, but he didn't scream. He gave the cockroach some time to be there comfortably, and after that, he just catched it and threw it away. See, in both the cases, in the case of the people who made the mess and the waiter who managed it, what makes the difference is that he was actually able to invoke the thought process. Their amygdala were hijacked and the emotional responses were given by the people who are sitting there. But how to manage the situation, what I have to do, the thought process was evoked by this person, the waiter, and he was hence able to manage the situation in the right way. So Sundar Pichai gave this beautiful story. It is a narration to overcome, how to overcome and make, how to overcome the functioning of the emotional brain and how to take charge of our life. It is called cockroach management. So sometimes this is, we have discussed about the real threats, but sometimes the threats are fake. We can inadvertently trigger threats with our own minds in the absence of any real danger. Mostly 99.99% of the time, threats get triggered by our minds. It is not our fault. It is just how our brain works. So anger, fear, embarrassment, shame, disgust, hopelessness, everything will be perceived by our brain as threats. Thoughts, stories, memories, predictions, images, anything that is in the mind, it will be related with the new happenings and threat detection system will be switched on. And many times our ego or existential threats are active. In most cases, threats to our ego, physiological well-being or stature are the psychological well-being or states are the cause of our amygdala being hijacked. So in the absence of even real threats, we perceive threats because of the stories we are telling. So whenever an event is happening in our life, we add our own version of the reality. And that is, we are coloring the happenings in our life, and we feel we are adding emotions to that particular events, and we will take judgmental decisions or defensiveness, and because of that, we are suffering. So we are actually making stories of our own, or we are making our own version of reality. So it's a famous telling that stress is not caused by what happens to us, it is caused by the stories we tell ourselves about what happens to us. So there are three types of stories. Victim, that is, we keep ourselves as the victim. It is not my fault. We will be judging in this particular way. Sometimes we will be telling that it is all my fault. It is because of me it happened. Then we will be taking the role of a villain. Sometimes we will take the role of a helpless person, that is, there is nothing else that I can do. So we will place ourselves either as a victim, either as a villain, or in a helpless state. So to come out of this vicious circle, we have to come out of these stories. We have to stop thinking stories. We are making, creating our own images or versions of the reality. Added to that, there is a thing called false memories. All the things that is inside our head is not real. I think you can search these things in the net and find about false memory. False memory refers to cases in which people remember events differently from the way they have happened, or in the most dramatic case, remember events that never happened at all. False memories can be very vivid and held with high confidence, and it can be difficult to convince someone that the memories is wrong. So, see, all these things leads to negative thinking. How negative thinking happens? Cells activated previously in the hippocampal region can subsequently serve as a functional source in a fear conditioning paradigm. That is, priming and can take place. So fake threats can also produce real results. And these are called ants, automatic negative thoughts. Like the ants are flooding a room that contains eatables. One or two ants will be coming to a place and seeing a food material there. Then the information from that ant will go to other ants, and more ants will be coming. And in a couple of minutes, the entire room and the entire food and snacks will be carried away by the ants. So that is called ANT, automatic negative thought. It is a well-known saying that our brain is Velcro to negative and Teflon to positive. It is by Rick Hansen. He is a neuropsychologist. Our brain is Velcro to negative. That means we are attracting negativity by the Teflon to positive. So I think you can see the last picture. See, brain look the good things, but the brain is always engaged. Not now, can't be say I'm busy. It is busy seeing the bad things, because it is actually the threats warning system of the body. Whether I am safe or not, that is the primary concern of the brain. And when that thing is more active, it leads to much problems. So these negative emotions, what are the problems? It leads these ants, automatic negative thoughts, it will lead to repetitive negative thoughts. Because of the negative emotions, amygdala will be active, and actually the size of the amygdala will increase. It will activate the HPA axis, that is hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis, producing glucocorticoids. That means cortisol will be produced. What this cortisol does? It activates the amygdala more and the size increase. But at the same time, it damages the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex. It really damages the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex. Hippocampus, it is related with our memory, and the damage of hippocampus leads to dementia and ultimately to Alzheimer's. Prefrontal cortex will also be affected. So the reasoning capacity of the body actually diminishes. So that is the things happening inside the brain because of the cortisol. So these ants, how to come out of this automatic negative thoughts that leads to peace of mind. So we have to relabel it, we have to reframe it, we have to refocus, and we have to revalue things. So we are moving to the end. I think the time is over. So if the negative situations are created by five things, the stressful goal pursuit will be there. Then it gives us anxiety, worry, fatigue, everything in the negative part. But if we are actually engaging in the goal attainment process, it needs to need fulfillment that leads to meaning making in life. Then frightened supernatural. Sometimes fear comes from nowhere. So we have to think realistically about the purposeful world. We have and we have to find meaning in the world that we are living. That's the way to come out of that. Then other directed annoyance. Some other person will be annoying us with their activities. So how to come out of that? See, downward social comparison. That means you have to think about people who are deprived of all the things that are enjoyed by you. You have a nice job, a nice health, and there is a it is there in the Gandhiji's talisman. Whenever you feel stressed, please look at the people who are downtrodden than yours. Then you can see that you are much blessed by God. So that's the way out. Then passion for social causes or beliefs. So you have to share with others, shared purposes, emotions, identity, then about the positive impact, then moral self-enhancement, all these things will be working. Then highly adverse life events. In such a condition also, we may move to sadness and fear. But to come out of the way, we have to share our experiences with other persons, perceptions of the significance of the life events. Then we can find meaning in life and come out of the thing. So ants are to be, that is automatic negative thoughts are to be substituted with positive empowering thoughts. So ants has to be substituted with pets. So that is the way to come out of this problem. So the thing is that an entire sea of water can't sink a ship unless it gets inside the ship. So similarly, the negativity of the world can't put you down unless you allow it to get inside you. So all these problems are created by our thought process. So we have to change the thought process. No peace of mind will be possible if we are staying in the old mental state. We have to generate the new mental state, an altered consciousness. That is why Albert Einstein has told we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. So it needs an altered consciousness. So we have to rewire the brain. How to rewire? Many things we have to do. We have to be self-aware. We have to know our stories, how it affects our life. We have to make peace with our past. I will tell what to do. Then know your beliefs, emotions, and behavior patterns. We have to be aware of all these things. Then know your relationship patterns. We have to be more self-aware in our life. Making us self-aware will deliberately, moving on to this self-awareness, activates the neocortex or the prefrontal cortex and helps us to think in the right way. Then we have to manage ourselves, learn skills of breathing and relaxation. See, when amygdala is active, it shuts down the oxygen supply to the brain. So to get the brain back in the order, relaxation. Then making peace with the past. That is, we have to practice forgiveness or compassionate in our life. Then it is actually a skill how to forgive. Then learn skills of resilience and how to learn how to outgrow. Problems may not go, but we have to outgrow it. Let me give an example. Whenever it rains, we cannot go out in the rain. But if you are having an umbrella, it won't stop the rain, but it gives us the capacity to be in the rain and do our things in the proper way. Problems may not go off, but it will help us to do things even in the midst of problems. That is outgrowing. Then maintain healthy eating and exercises. Then we have to be socially aware, understand non-verbal social signals. It is very important. Then develop a realistic view of others, not positive or negative, but realistic view of others. Then understanding basic human emotional needs. Then understand the games and the difference between games and personal integrity. And one talk was there regarding the games we play by Shalini teacher. Then relationship management, that is develop skills for reflective listening and empathy. Then learn skills for healthy assertiveness. It is very important, healthy assertiveness. We may not be passive or aggressive, but we will be doing things in an assertive way, that whatever is to be done, that will be done in a polite manner. Then learn conflict resolution skills, develop skills for support and affirmation of others. So these are the things we have to do to come out of the problem of amygdala hijacking. So stay in present, not dwell in the past or the future. Then live the stories that you are constructing. See the emotional cues, what is happening around you. Then take a pause, because both the thought process and the feeling process doesn't go hand in hand. When you are feeling something, when you are feeling the cues, then you have to pause a little so that your prefrontal cortex is sits down. Take a deep breath, because our amygdala cannot function in the, our prefrontal cortex cannot function properly in the absence of oxygen supply. It is deliberately cut off. We have to get it back. So deep breathing. Even though the problems are big, the solution is very simple. Then shift your focus. It needs an altered consciousness from problems to solutions. Then think. See, this is called box breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold the breath for 4 seconds, then exhale through 4 seconds, and again hold the breath for 4 seconds. It is called box breathing. It helps us to come out of this amygdala hijacking. It's a proven thing. So we are having 3 things in our life: thoughts, our words, and our actions. Make sure it is think before you talk. That means make sure that your brain is connected to your tongue. So no unthought responses are coming out. So thinking actually means whether the words we are telling is true, is it helpful, is it inspiring, is it necessary, or is it kind. So that is actually the meaning of think. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And whether it is kind to the other person. Then how to talk? It is a Tamil saying, Anbaga peshu, Inimayaga peshu, Unmaya peshu, Nanmaya peshu, Medvaga peshu, Chiricha peshu, Chindit peshu, Samayamaranda pesu. Now I have to do that. Samayamaranda pesu, Samayaranda pesu, Pesama Lirindum Payu. I'm leaving that. So before talking, think. Before acting, take a pack. Before going somewhere outside, you have to pack your things. So what is pack? Pause, acknowledge your thoughts and feelings, and clear your mind. Then do. So know what we are doing, then choose what we have to do, and find the reasons why we are doing it, how emotionally connected we are. So pause and consider the cognitive and emotional components of a decision. Then what are my options and what are the few other options? This helps us to come out of the tunnel vision. So in a couple of minutes, it will be over. Pain is inevitable in our life, but the suffering is not. Pain is what the world does to you, but suffering is what you do to yourself. So whether to suffer in the pain or not, that you have to decide. Pain may come, but suffering is only optional. You have to decide whether to suffer or not. So if you are thinking that everything is someone else's fault, you will be suffering more. So we have to take responsibility of our deeds. So what goes around comes around. As you sow, so shall you reap. As one calls into the woods, so shall be the echo received. So making someone else responsible for your misery also makes them responsible for your happiness. So you must not give the power to some other person. So what do you have to do? You have to forgive others. And forgive others not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. It is not letting the behavior of others destroy your inner peace. And it is good to have scars. Never being ashamed of a scar. It simply means you are stronger than whatever tried to hurt you. So show your scars, but you must not show your wounds. That means you have to heal it yourself. And you have to show others only your scars, not your wounds. So what you actually need, sometimes problems don't require a solution to solve them. Instead, they require maturity to outgrow them. Sometimes you just outgrow people. You don't need to hate them, you don't need to cut them off, but you do need to distance yourself from them if you want to live your best life. So you must know how to outgrow. In order to grow, you have to outgrow your disasters, you have to outgrow your fears, you have to outgrow your battles, you have to outgrow the people who don't serve a purpose in your life. You have to outgrow the things that devalue you. You have to outgrow your outer peace. You have to outgrow your nightmares. You have to outgrow the old you and build a new you. So thank you all.
Thank you, Swami. Thank you for the wonderful and exceptional presentation. Wonderful in the sense that the complexity of the brain functioning is presented in the most simplest manner. And on behalf of Research Wing, I appreciate and acknowledge Swami Gurunand for the informative, content-rich presentation and also the way of presentation, the sequencing of each and every content and the selection of videos for making it interesting. Thank you very much for being with us. And now it is open for discussion.
I apologize that I took much time, so sorry for that.
But it is exceptional and it is very informative for us.
Thanks, teacher.
Okay. Okay, sir. Now it is open for discussion. Participants. We have a lot of comments in the comment box. The recording will be available on our YouTube channel. Ask for recording. It will be available on our YouTube channel. Any clarification needed? Participants?
Sir, as a
please.
participant, I would like to thank you. Extremely well presented. It has been a wonderful guidance. As a participant, we could know not just the medical terms and how we can really take it as a life skill, because it's every day that we come face across a lot of difficulties. So how it we can take steps, you have very meaningfully explained. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Swami Gurunand, for your wonderful, exceptional, very well-lit presentation. Content rich as well as visually Also, it has been very meaningfully arranged. Congratulate for the slides that you have arranged for the presentation, the animation, the clippings, the cases, the illustrative diagrams. Everything has been very wonderfully chosen and arranged. I appreciate for your presentation. I hope that this seems to be one of the presentations which carries to the equal to the meaning of the series, that is Insight in Depth. As many of you may not be knowing who has given the series of talk, the clear title. Actually, we thought about the introduction of this series of talk. It is none other than Swami Gurunand has given this title, and he has contributed the dog of creation also at the beginning stage of this program, and meaningfully you have realized the meaning of the program itself through the presentation. So it all the respect seems to be maybe something related with your research work also. Some part of the presentation may have direct link with the content of your research work. I appreciate and hope that the findings in due course may become a very successful hit in the field of academia.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It is a pleasure to hear such words from you, sir. Thank you.
Swamiji, there is a question in the chat box. Can I read?
Yeah, please.
During the second wave of COVID, many people have lost near and dear ones and their peace of mind is disturbed. What they will do to maintain peace of mind? By Dr. Sarojini Shah.
Definitely, during the second wave, actually I have contacted more than 100 people. I have talked to more than 100 people who are actually having these problems. Many times, even our dear ones are lost. See, I actually remember a particular thing. I asked one elderly woman. She was stuck with pain because the loss of her husband during this COVID pandemic. Outrightly, I told her that, ma'am, you will also be dead in a couple of years. Then she was wonderstruck and looked at my face. Me? That was the response she gave. It is quite natural that we are not sure that we get born. The chance to have birth in this earth, it is actually less. Among the millions of sperm that reach the egg, only one get fertilized, and the chance of others are lost. But it is clearly true that if you are born, then you will die. That is the only truth that is a permanent truth in this living world. So if we are dying, then why? It is the real truth. You have to be realistic about the thing. I also will die in a couple of years. You also will die in a couple of years. That is why Prophet Muhammad has told us that your death is so close to you like your slippers. He has told us that. Why we have to keep that in mind? Even if a single day we are living in this world, we have to live fruitfully. Don't anticipate much things. We are facing a truth. Your kith and kin will be lost, and you will also be lost in a particular day. So that is a very great truth you are about to face, and you have to face the reality. You have to switch from emotions to reality. That's the only way to come out of the grief. Even myself, I lost my mother 2 years back. But I am not stuck in any emotional tantrums because I know that I also will go in a couple of years. If I have taken birth, definitely I will go. See, there is one good story there in Tamil. I think I just don't remember the person who told that. But still, the thing is that one mother, she was in total grief because of the loss of a child. So she went to a Guruji and told him that, Guruji, because you are having such spiritual powers, let you please get my child back to life. Then he told that definitely I will do that for you, Amma. Please go to some houses and you have to get mustard seeds from a house from which no kith and kin has yet died. He told the mother that you have to go to some house uh, and get mustard seeds from a house that uh, no kith and kin was yet died. She went to each and every house and asked for that, but in every house there was a death. So it is a universal truth. If you are facing a truth, it cannot be overridden. Then why we are uh, painting on that truth? It is definite to come. Even though it is coming the next day, uh, please be sure that you are living a purposeful life, a meaningful life for this particular day. I also met a doctor. He was a much skilled doctor from Palakkad. He got COVID, and because of the COVID, he was in mental tantrums. He was not able to reopen his uh, medical, his hospital. So he was in grief. So I outrightly told him, sir, in 5 days you will be dying. The sixth day, definitely you will be dying. But till the sixth day, for the next 5 years, live like a man. I asked him to live like a man. You have to be bold in your life. That's the meaning of outgrow. Problems will be there. Even Prophet Muhammad faced the problems. Jesus Christ faced problems. Rama faced problems in their life. Gandhiji faced problems in their life. So if uh, it is a human life, there will be problems. So, but we have to outgrow all these things. Like we are standing in the rain with the umbrella, we have to bear with the problems and move ahead. Don't expect the rains to stop, but with the umbrella, go into the rain and outgrow the rain. My Amma has told one thing. Uh, she's a Malayalam teacher. തലയ്ക്ക് മീതെ വെള്ളം വന്ന അതുക്കും മീതെ തോന്നി. That means even in the midst of much problems in the life, even the Titanic will sink, but a small boat, it will not sink. Even though it is overturned, we can survive over that. So definitely, please keep that confidence. That's the need of faith. You have to have faith in the life. Even though problems are there, definitely you can outgrow it and lead your life positively.
Wonderfully explained, sir. Thank you so much for motivating us, and it's like showing the mirror. Sir, I'm Kiran, and I'm seriously, it's a kind of treat just joining in your session. Because of some technical issues, I wasn't able to, smoothly just listen to your session, but it is such a treat and wonderfully presented, and each and every slide is like, wow, I mean, I'm so mesmerized. I'm really thankful I really made time to join in. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Taking the lighter moment of the part, online may be a universal solution for all the problems of the pandemics like this. So every real offline problems could be immediately solved by an online. Declare that everything online, nothing to worry.
Thank you, Swamiji, and thank you, dear participants. Is there anyone to have any clearance for your queries? Please. If not, can we move forward, sir? Bindu ma'am, can we move forward?
Okay, Samya.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Sanla, okay.
The best kind of giving is Thanksgiving. Now it's the time to express our gratitude for such a great knowledge that Swamiji shared with us. Let me invite Mrs. Soumya DE for expressing vote of thanks. Soumya, please.
Thank you, Saranya. Good evening to all. Respected principal, esteemed resource person, research coordinator, and dear participants. Today we have achieved more. It was not because of you or me. We together made this possible. Let me coin these feelings of thankfulness, remembering each and everyone. On behalf of the entire team members, first of all, I would like to thank our beloved principal, Dr. K.V. Bennett sir, who not only being a great scholar but also had taken maximum interest to conduct this session. It is not only the effort that we could have new horizons of knowledge. Dear sir, thank you for your hard work and kindness. I extend my sincere thanks from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much, sir. Today, we are blessed with an eminent personality who is well versed in different areas of knowledge, Swamiji. He is a good teacher, guide, and a researcher who effortlessly work for the upcoming of each and every person. His lecture on neurobiology of peaceful mind is very interesting and informative. Talk is important not only for the classroom, but also in the life of every person. Dear Swamiji, you made this session a fruitful one. On and all behalf of all who gathered here, I extend my heartfelt thanks. Thank you, Swamiji, once again. Every research scholars are gifted with the skillful research guides. It is their help and guidance make our presentation a worthy one. Now I remember research coordinator Dr. Bindu ma'am and other organizers. Thank you, dear sir, and other organizers. Dear participants, I hope you all had a wonderful time to this session. Let us together work for the realization of all the valuable knowledge we have. I cordially thank all who gathered here and guests who came from other colleges also. Thank you all. And last, Hans teacher, thank you for your supporting technical. Thank you all.
Thank you, Soumya ma'am. Dear participants, please fill the feedback form. The link is shared in the chat box. E-certificate will be received in your email ID, which you have entered in the feedback form. Thank you so much for your valuable participation. Please join us on next week for another great webinar in our Insight In-Depth Invited Talk series. Thank you so much. See you all next week. May God bless you all. Stay safe. Thank you once again. Now we have come to the end of the webinar. If possible, please stand up for the national anthem.
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 जय
Thank you, everyone.